The clattering of keys echoed through the dimly lit room, a symphony of memories being transcribed onto paper. The old Underwood typewriter, a relic of a bygone era, was my companion as I sat at my desk, surrounded by the artifacts of my past. I was both a writer and a custodian of history, a former soldier of World War II, now tasked with preserving the stories of our triumphs and tragedies. The war had ended decades ago, but its remnants were scattered everywhere in the rusty contours of an old Jeep parked in the barn, in the worn grip of a Mosin Nagant rifle mounted on the wall, and in the tales that haunted my dreams. These were not just objects, they were fragments of a time when the world was on fire, and every man, woman, and machine was a soldier in their own right. I first laid eyes on my Jeep during the bitter winter of 1944 in the Ardennes. The Battle of the Bulge was raging, and our convoy was navigating the snow-covered terrain when we were ambushed. The Jeep, with its rugged build and indefatigable spirit, became our lifeline. It ferried wounded men to makeshift aid stations, hauled supplies through the thick forests, and more than once served as a makeshift barricade against the advancing enemy. After the war, I couldn't bear to part with it. The military had deemed it surplus, a term that felt like an insult to its valor. I bought it for a pittance, a fraction of its worth. Back home, it became my farm's workhorse, plowing fields and towing equipment. Its engine, once a roar of defiance, now purred contentedly as it went about its civilian duties. The scars of war remained etched in its metal, each dent and scratch a testament to its service. As I ran my fingers over its weathered frame, I was transported back to those harrowing days. The Jeep had been my comrade, its wheels spinning relentlessly towards victory. Now it stood as a silent sentinel, a bridge between the past and present. The Soviets had millions of these rifles, Mosin Nagants, and by the war's end, they were being replaced by more advanced firearms. But during the war, it was a reliable companion. I acquired mine during the push into Berlin, a trophy of sorts, from a defeated foe. It had a solid feel, the kind of heft that spoke of craftsmanship and history. Back in the States, surplus Mosin Nagants flooded the market, sold off cheaply. They were picked up by hunters and marksmen, their history forgotten in the pursuit of game. Mine, however, remained a symbol of the war, a relic that I kept above the fireplace. Occasionally, I would take it down, clean it meticulously, and take it out to the range. Each shot echoed the battles it had seen, the struggles of soldiers long gone. Its wooden stock, worn smooth by countless hands, carried the marks of its journey. It was a paradox, a tool of death, now a cherished keepsake. Holding it, I could almost hear the whispers of the past, the voices of those who had carried it before me. High above the battlefields, the P-51 Mustang roared through the skies, a symbol of American air superiority. Its sleek design and powerful engine made it a formidable opponent, and pilots revered it. I had the privilege of flying one, albeit briefly. The sensation of soaring above the chaos, of having the world spread out beneath you, was indescribable. After the war, many of these magnificent machines were sold off. Their wartime glory was forgotten as they were repurposed for civilian use. Some became crop dusters, others were displayed in museums, and a lucky few like mine were bought by enthusiasts. I had always dreamed of flying again, and when I found a surplus P-51 for sale, I couldn't resist. Restoring it was a labor of love. Every bolt tightened, every panel polished, was a step back in time. The day it took to the skies again, it was as if the years had melted away. Flying it was a connection to my youth, to the days when the world was at war and every flight was a mission. The P-51 became a star at air shows, its engine's roar a reminder of a time when it had been a sentinel of freedom. Children would gaze at it in awe, unaware of its storied past. To them, it was just a cool old plane. To me, it was a guardian of memories, a link to the friends I had lost and the battles we had fought. The M-26. Pershing arrived late in the European theater, a heavy tank meant to counter the formidable German Panthers and Tigers. I was assigned to one during the final push into Germany. The Pershing was a beast, its armor thick and its gun powerful. It was a symbol of American industrial might, a juggernaut on treads. After the war, many Pershings were sent to Korea. I stayed behind, my combat days over, but I followed their exploits closely. The Pershings, now reclassified as medium tanks, performed admirably in the rugged Korean terrain. They were eventually replaced by the more advanced Patton series, but their legacy endured. One day, while visiting a military museum, I came across an old Pershing. Its once mighty frame was now a display piece, its engine silent. I could almost hear its history, the battles it had seen, the lives it had saved. Standing before it, I was filled with a sense of pride and melancholy. It was a reminder of the past, of the sacrifices made and the victories won. The M4. Sherman was the workhorse of the Allied forces during World War II. Its design was simple but effective, and it could be produced in massive numbers. After the war, surplus Shermans were sold or given to various countries. The Israelis, facing existential threats from their neighbors, ingeniously upgraded their Shermans with new engines and guns. I had heard stories of these modified Shermans, dubbed Super Shermans, performing admirably against more modern Soviet tanks like the T-55. It was a testament to the durability and versatility of the Sherman design. Seeing these old warriors still in action, albeit in a different form, was inspiring. It was as if the spirit of those who had designed and built them lived on, adapting to new challenges and new wars. The German MG-42 was a fearsome weapon, known for its high rate of fire and reliability. After the war, the MG-42's design was adapted to fire the standard 7.62 NATO round, becoming the MG-3. This updated version was adopted by the German Army and remains in service to this day. I had encountered the MG-42 on the battlefield, its distinctive sound a harbinger of death. Seeing its evolution into the MG-3 was fascinating. It was a reminder that even the most fearsome tools of war could be repurposed and modernized. The MG-3 was a symbol of continuity, a bridge between the past and the present. The M2 Browning machine gun, affectionately known as the Ma Deuce, was a mainstay of American firepower. Designed after World War I, it saw extensive use in World War II and beyond. Remarkably, its design has remained largely unchanged, a testament to its effectiveness. I had used the M2 in both Europe and the Pacific, and it never let me down. Hearing stories of M2s still in active service, some nearly 90 years old, was astonishing. It was a reminder that some things are built to last, enduring through generations and conflicts. The post-war surplus of military equipment found new life in Hollywood. World War II movies were popular in the 1950s and 60s, and the abundance of surplus equipment added authenticity to these films. Tanks, jeeps, and guns that had seen real combat now played roles in cinematic battles. The Sterling SMG, a British submachine gun, was even used as the basis for the Stormtrooper blasters in the original Star Wars trilogy. With some clever modifications, it was transformed into a futuristic weapon, a far cry from its origins. It was a fitting tribute to the ingenuity and adaptability of those who had designed and built these tools of war. Some World War II equipment remains in military service today, primarily in reserve or secondary roles. These items are not typically used by frontline troops, but are still functional and can be deployed if needed. The continued existence and use of this equipment highlight its durability and the pragmatic approach of various military forces to utilize all available resources. In my travels, I have encountered surplus equipment in the most unexpected places. In a remote village in Southeast Asia, I once saw a jeep, battered and rusted but still running, ferrying supplies along a dusty road. It was a stark reminder that the legacy of World War II endures in ways both grand and humble. As I sit here typing away on my old Underwood, surrounded by the artifacts of my past, I am filled with a sense of awe and gratitude. The surplus equipment of World War II is more than just machinery. It is a testament to the ingenuity, resilience, and sacrifice of those who lived through that tumultuous time. Each item tells a story, from the battlefields of Europe and the Pacific to the quiet farms and bustling cities of post-war America. They are reminders of a time when the world stood on the brink and every man, woman, and machine played a part in securing our future. The Jeep, the Mosin Nagant, the P-51 Mustang, the M26 Pershing, the M4 Sherman, the MG42/MG3, and the M2 Browning. These are not just relics of the past. They are symbols of our collective history, bridges between the world that was and the world that is. As a writer and a custodian of history, it is my duty to preserve these stories, to ensure that the legacy of surplus endures. The clattering of keys on my typewriter is a symphony of memories, a tribute to the men and machines that fought and survived. The war may be over, but its legacy lives on in the equipment that still serves, in the stories that still inspire, and in the hearts of those who remember.